Next meeting is a Committee on Finance, which will be chaired by Commissioner Bagger. Rich?
Great, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Today's meeting of the Committee on Finance is being held in public session in its entirety. At this point, I'd ask the Board Secretary to advise those present of the composition of the committee and to confirm that because today's item is informational only, we do not have any recusals.
The committee is composed of Commissioner Bagger, the committee chair, Commissioner Eve, the committee vice chair, and Commissioners Horowitz, McCabe, and Pacino. All committee members are present at today's meeting with the exception of Commissioner Pacino, and you are correct, there are no recusals.
Great, thank you. As we do each quarter, we have a transparent public reporting of the Port Authority's financial and operational results for the previous quarter and year to date. Today we are pleased to have a presentation on our financial and operational results for the first half of 2019 by our Chief Financial Officer, Libby McCarthy.
Thank you, and good afternoon, Commissioners. I'm going to start with my usual disclaimer, which is that these unaudited, condensed financial information is best understood and read in conjunction with our annual financial statements and the notes thereto, which are posted on our website. Immediately following this meeting, we will be also posting on the website our 6-month financial results as compared to the prior year. So how did we do? Year to date, we are our net operating income of 1.05 or 06 billion is represents a 1.2% increase over our budgeted amounts for the year, as they are also then effectively flat to the prior year. When you factor in depreciation and amortization expense, that is up by 6.6% over the prior year, trending slightly ahead of plan, and that is because we have placed in the 2018 and first part of 2019 period over $6 billion of construction into operation, and therefore that is now being amortized over its useful life. So what does that include? That includes the final completion of the Bayonne Bridge, the Goethals Bridge, certain aspects of the LaGuardia redevelopment coming into operations, Path Signals program, and some JFK infrastructure projects that have been completed. In addition to that, we also reflect in this period the final closeout of our Sandy insurance claim for the World Trade Center site, and you can see that reflected in these results. Overall operating results after considering the operating expenses resulted in an increase in our net position of $455 million, and we have a new net position of $16.3 billion. So now I'm going to just drill down and give you a little more color on the components that drove these results. Gross operating revenues are increased 2.4% year over year, or $64 million. Rental revenues from rentals are up $29 million, or 3.5%. That's driven by scheduled rent increases and increased aviation and port activity, as well as increased One World Trade Center occupancy. Aviation fees are up 4.4%, or $26 million, and that's as a result of increased recovery of security costs at our facilities, as well as the placement into service of that aeronautical capital investment that I talked to you about a minute ago. And then finally, parking and other, which is a kind of sweeps together a number of different categories, is up 1%, or $8 million, and that's reflective of increased activity at the ports, which results in increased cargo facility charge revenues, and then also recovery of tenant-specific charges for building services at One World Trade Center. So let's focus a little bit now on our facility activities. As you can see here, we've had robust growth across all of our facilities, with ports leading the way at 5.9% increase in volumes year over year for the 6 months. This is facilitated in part by just global demand, but also the raising of the Bayonne Bridge to allow the ultra-large ships, the efficient ships, to come to the ports. Aviation passengers up 3.2%. That's 68 million passengers in the first 6 months of this year. And you can see that that's both in the domestic and the international sectors. Tunnels and bridges is up 1.9% year over year. And there's an outline here of that being by category: 4% trucks, 2% autos. And then finally, PATH average weekday ridership is up 1.3% year over year. This reflects an average across this first 6 months of the year of 283,000 passengers in the period. Moving to operating expenses, you can see here that overall operating expenses are up 4.3% as compared to the first 6 months of last year. Contracts are up 9%, that's $39 million, and that's really a result of scheduled contractor rate increases, but also importantly, resources that were needed to support our LaGuardia construction program, as well as our PATH construction program. That's for the tunnel work that we're doing with the weekend outages. On top of that, we also started making payments this year, or toward the end of last year, I should say, for the Goethals Bridge contractor for contract maintenance payments, since that bridge is now in operation. Employee compensation is up 3%, or $21 million. That's an increase both in headcount to meet ongoing safety and operational requirements, as well as general wage increases. And then materials are up 9%, or $12 million, and that's incremental increases due to some vehicle fleet replacement, particularly in the area of our highly technical snow removal equipment for the aviation facilities, and some electrical supplies for the aviational facilities as well. From a cash flow perspective, all of this leads to some strong cash and ample cash liquidity positions. You can see here cash and investments are at $3.5 billion at the end of the quarter. That represents a slight decrease compared to the prior year, but it also just is reflective of where we are in terms of investing into the capital plan. Cash flow from operations is also down year over year, but that's a result of combination of making payments, the retroactive payments as it relates to our labor contract settlements, offset by those insurance proceeds from Sandy. Available capital funds and commercial paper to support the capital program is sitting at about $429 million. I will say we have put out into the market and are planning on pricing a bond offering the week of August 5th, and that will result in some new money proceeds to go toward funding the capital program for the remainder of the year, as well as produce debt service savings on some existing bonds. And then days cash on hand is currently at 117 days at the end of the quarter. And as I mentioned, the debt right now is flat to last year, as you can see here, and we will be going into the markets. We have not been in the markets for the first half of this year. So with that, I'm happy to take any questions.
Great, thank you. It's really noteworthy to see the record-breaking activity levels across the different business lines of the Port Authority, and then also the strong financial position, which is what makes possible the investment in the capital program that I know we're going to hear more about shortly. Do we have any questions or comments from members of the board for Libby? If not, Libby, thank you for your report, and Mr. Chairman, that concludes our committee meeting.